Ladies and gentlemen, if you're still with us, round 23, for most, the first of our finals weeks, we've made it, we're here, round 23 team list. If you're still watching after all these weeks, then well done to you. It's been a long season. Felt like it's gone very quick, but it has indeed been a long season. We're getting it straight off with some breaking news. Isaiah Yeo, a lot of people would have got him in last week. Definitely was a must-have, injured, cleared of any serious injury, so it might be a 1 to 2 week type of job. Dor, you got any insight into that one?
From what I heard, Cord, it was only low grade for Isaiah Yeo. I think it's all been cleared, but he's basically just been given the week off, I think, just for precautionary measures against Newcastle as well, Cord. So should be able to get it done, brother. But there are some other big things for this TLT. But before we get there, let me quickly go into how the all-out team went last week, brother. It was nearly as bad as my performance after midnight on Saturday night, Cord. It was not good. Jamal Fogarty only got 28 points for us. Isaiah Yeo, again, went down with that injury, so he played limited minutes. Drinkwater absolutely stunk it up. So, look, we only ended up with 795 points. We got in Herbie last week. 45 was on for something in the hundreds, I think, in that first 18 minutes. 200s. He was 45 points in 18 minutes, and then unfortunately he got shot. The Hemi went, and off he went. So that was a great buy for the all out team. But and then Wishart, we got Wishart. He got 36, so not the worst. But we unfortunately lost a few ranks there. Cord, we were 4,654th at the end of round 21, and at the end of last week, we're out to 6,146. So otherwise, let's actually get to some good news outside of the Isaiah Yeo omission, and let's get into TLT, brother.
Yeah, the great TLT, and I will start with the Storm and the Broncos, and Trent Liero is back on deck, and I really want to keep this podcast door to the nitty-gritty team lists that are relevant to fantasy here. So let's not touch on Trent Liero too much. For the Storm, though,
he can get it done, Trent Liero, if you want a pod.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Wishart did get it sort of done on the weekend against a pretty tough lineup against Para last week with 36 points. Wishart, 351K. And if you're looking for a cash-out option maybe this week, he is definitely the play, I'd say.
Break even at 21.
Wishart.
Yeah, break even at 21 for Wishart. Continue, brother.
For the Bronx, good news. Payne Haas is back on deck after whatever illness he had last week. So much needed boost for anyone that has low middles with Terrell May on the bye this week and Isaiah Yeo out like myself. Other fantasy relevancy, this game, Door, tough game against the fucking Storm. What do you reckon?
Nah, not really much relevancy in this game. I still think Wishart's not a bad option. Cord Hughes is going to be out for a while. I don't need to keep repeating myself with players every week because I basically, your Harry Grants, your Katoas, etc. If you haven't got them in, they're still really good buys. I'm not saying not get this person, or if you still have this person, this is probably something to take note of, is that even though Pappenhausen did have 42 points last week, his goal kicking was very, very poor. And I have heard some reports that Bellamy is considering giving Nick Meaney back the goal kicking. We did see that actually happen at the back end of the game with Meaney taking back the goal kicking. So potentially that could continue into this week, Cord. For the Broncos, look, I think it's just you're Payne Haas. It's great to have him back. I did see some followers say, do we sell Payne Haas? No, you don't sell Payne Haas. Carrigan's a good option if you need a bit of a middle. He's a good potty option. And then I think if you're still looking for a wing fullback, I think Reece Walsh isn't too bad. He's starting to play some good football these past few weeks. So other than that, Cord, happy to move on to actually before we move on, to the first Friday night game. Sam and I will be calling the Broncos versus Melbourne on Thursday night, so you can tune into the All Out Club on YouTube Live and catch us there.
As we touched on, Panthers with the loss of Isaiah Yeo to a shoulder injury, which means Papali'i shifts to lock. Look, if you're desperate and you're playing for an elimination final against whoever your mate is this weekend, like myself, and you want to sell Isaiah Yeo, look, go for it. I've got 5 trades myself. I might sell them to Carrigan. Like, it's do or die, right?
Yeah.
There's no point wondering.
No. Especially if you're playing head to head, overall doesn't really matter. You're playing head to head. You're trying to beat that person. I don't hate it at all.
Nah, I mean, I got him in last week. Am I going to sell him? Yeah, I am going to sell him. Sue me.
No, I don't hate it, brother. The reasoning is there to why you're making the trade. But Dylan Edwards, again, look, solid performance from him. Nathan Cleary, wow, another majestic long-range field goal from Nathan. Otherwise, Isaiah Papali'i went really well last week in fantasy. And I just, with Yo only going to be probably out like 1 week, it's hard to say he's a buy, but yeah, he went really well last week. I just wanted to touch on that if you want to go into Newcastle.
Yeah, and the Knights, Bradman Best is named to return after a knee injury. Jake Arthur comes into halfback for his club debut. Look, the Panthers, I don't think they have the same worries as they did with the Titans in the second half. This could be a 40-0 game to Penrith.
Yeah, I think they should. It's just with how the Titans played really well against the Warriors last week, and then they 2 weeks ago, and then they played well again against Penrith. I just haven't seen that from Newcastle yet to string back-to-back good performances together. It's good for them that Bradman Best is back for them in the centres. I wouldn't say Bradman Best is a buy. I think if you're looking for a little bit of a pot option, I think Greg Marzoo started to come a bit good again. Dane Gagai, I think, is a really solid option. I think a lot of coaches called are going to be, like you said, Isaiah Yeo is out. And then, like I touched on at the start of this pod, Herbie Farnworth is also out. So coaches are going to be looking for a centre. The Knights have played all their bye rounds, and I don't think Dane Gagai is a bad option at all if you need a centre this week.
Moving on to the next game, it is the Raiders and the Seagulls, and the Raiders continue to turn out the same 17 despite their loss to the Dragons last week. I wouldn't be going picking up any Raiders players this week, Dor, purely for the fact that I do believe they have the bye next round. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure so. I will double check that.
It's a risky play because you bring him in for this round, make it through to him next week in your finals, then all of a sudden you have X amount of players out from the Raiders, especially if you have Tarpany.
Yes, it is confirmed.
Huddy Young. So I would steer clear of Raiders players this week, and if you're still in it in round 25, get them back. For Manly, Tom Trbojevic is back at number 1, which is good news for him with Hopewadi out with that shoulder injury. Fantasy-wise, for the Manly Seagulls at this late point of the end of the year, not really seeing much. Ruben Garrick's been quite poor.
Oh, Burbo's out as well. That's not good. Concussion for Burbo. So good old Cheekam is playing for Manly in the back row. I think there's just a few things to talk about. Not really any players that I would say be buying, Cord. No. I think Trbojevic, you've still got him. Yes, he didn't have his best game. Back at fullback, we're definitely going to hold him. Like you said, the Raiders do have the buy last week. In our buy, hold, sell templates, and on the podcast last week, Benson Mick talked about, as well as we posted it, that Tarpany was a hold. And boy, he had one of his best games fantasy-wise in a long time, probably like a month or two. I think he got 65 fantasy points. So something from that is great if he held on to Tarpany. Look, Fogarty had a stinker, but look, a lot of the conditions last week called past that Titans-Panthers game were the conditions were awful.
Oh,
like
shocking.
There was a lot of drop ball, a lot of penalties. The weather was pissing down rain. There was mud everywhere. Like, it wasn't good at all. We did see a really, really good game in the Tigers versus Bulldogs on that Sunday Arvo. But most of the games were, even though that was as well rain affected. Look, we just got to hold on. Like, Hudson Young didn't have the greatest performance. I think he got like somewhere in the 40s. I think there's definitely all these players that you have. Maybe Jed Stewart could be one that it might be time to go. But again, like back home, you probably just hold him and then sell him next week on his buy round. Otherwise, yeah, I wouldn't be buying anyone from any of these teams, Cord. I just think if you've got any of these players, hold on to him. Ruben Garrick as well hasn't been the greatest, but hopefully he bounces back this week.
Another person or another team that I wouldn't buy anyone from is the Dragons. They go with the same 17 this week that stunned the Raiders last week. For the Sharkies, though, they continued to motoring on with a good performance against the Cowboys last week. Nico Hines, good buy there. Adam Fanua-Blake seems to be a good option if you're trying to cover May or Isaiah Yeo this week.
Yeah, I don't really think that there's any, again, look, if you... Yeah,
they still have a buy, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. So the Raiders have the buy next week, and then the Sharks have the buy the week after. So I personally probably wouldn't be buying any of these players. It was good to see Damien Cook had a better performance for those owners. But otherwise, look, Nico Hines was solid. Fanua Blake had a lot better performance. Oh, well, for us, thankfully, and his other owners as well. Otherwise, Cord, yeah, McInnes was strong. I guess if you're looking for a bit of another middle, I do believe I'd probably be leaning towards maybe Carrigan first, but from the teams that we've gone through thus far, in terms of another mid option for Isaiah Yeo, I think that McInnes isn't a bad shout either.
Moving on to probably the game of the week for me is the Dolphins and the Roosters. I reckon whoever wins this game will make the top 8, in my opinion. The loss of Herbie Farnworth is massive for the Dolphins, though, which sees Tavita Nafua slide into the centres after 2 games on the wing in rounds 19 and 20. For the Roosters, Trent Robinson sticks with the same 17. Connor Watson coming off the bench again this week.
No, he's starting. Starting. Yeah, Watto's starting. Iolu's on the, I probably butchered that pronunciation, but yeah, Benaya is
I would
on
say
the
there is a
bench
possibility for Watto to go off the bench again. You never know.
he was really good last week, fantasy-wise, and IRL, Connor Watson. Great performance from him. I'm pretty sure he scored in the 60s. Angus Crichton, a really good, solid performance from him. Look, Teddy and Marky Mark, they're not setting the world on fire, but they're not stinking it up.
Holds.
I think Teddy got like 44 and Marky Mark got 35, I think it was. So definitely just hold on to them. This game could be a high-scoring one. Isaiah Katoa, a lot of people would have got him in. I think he got 49, so it wasn't unbelievable.
Didn't like the one on fire, did he?
But a man that I think also stands out, Cord, for a buy from the middle is Kurt Donahue. I think he has been really, really good. I'm pretty sure he got 60 plus fantasy points last week for the Dolphins. And I think if you need, well, he's a half and a hooker, so ignore the middle talk. But he's basically playing in the middle. 66 points he's consuming. So if you need a hooker or a half, Kurt Donahue is not a bad option. I'm looking at the rest of it, Cord. Like Hammer could go well. He's a bit of a pot option. I don't think like Tavita Nafu is a great option fantasy-wise just at the moment. I haven't really seen too much of him. Otherwise, look, Sam Walker had a really good game on the weekend, but we need to see that a bit more. And unfortunately, my red dot that I got at the start of the season, Oblix Tawa, that I thought was never going to play a game, has played, I think, like a month straight and is gobbling, is turning out to be not a bad prospect for my team. But last thing before we go to the next game is that Sam and I are going to call this one as well. So we're doing 2 humdingers this week, Wobbling and I. So yes, you can see us live for that one on Saturday, late afternoon, Cord.
Moving on quickly to the Bulldogs, same 17 for them. That loss to the West Tigers last week. For the Warriors, CHT is back after a calf injury, and James Fisher-Harris is a part of that extended squad. The Warriors are really fumbling the end of their sort of season here. Aaron Clark's a good one to have for that dual position.
Yeah,
what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree, Cord. Oh, it's interesting to see that Wade Egan's also out again this week with that concussion, so he hasn't been named at all. So Samuel Healy gets another crack there for the Wars. He got like just quietly called. He looks like a serious player, Samuel Healy.
Yeah,
like he's only played like a handful of games, I'm pretty sure, in first grade, and he's just looked really, really impressive in all of it, in all of his games that he's played. Look, Tanner Boyd, he had a bit of a stinker last week, Cord, but it's not time to go, I don't think. I think we give him another week. I don't think it's time, unless it's like, because that's the thing, Cord, you can make these trades, they're luxury trades, right? You could, so for example, you get rid of Tanner Boyd, upgrade him to, or you move him to a Kurt Donahue, or you move him to someone else. But I just think unless you've got like 10 trades left, like me personally, I think I have like 3 or 4 trades. So for me, like something like that, I think is just a bit of a luxury.
Yeah, 100%.
So, but if it's do or die, you got to make the decision, or you lose and you're out of your head-to-head comp. Well, I 100% understand making a decision like that. But for the Wars, Cord, yeah, Aaron Clark's the real option. If you want a bit of a cash-out option, because I assume that Egan's going to be back next week and Healy will be out, you can get a good score with Healy this week. It's good to see Harris Tavita back. That was expected for him to only miss the 1 week with his calf injury. Fisher Harris being there on the bench is interesting because it was supposed to be 2 weeks that he was out, so he could be pushing for an early return for the Bulldogs. Court. It's great to see Jacob Preston get back into some serious work and some good fantasy points lately. Look, Burton and Galvin didn't have very good games last week, especially Galvin. And Galvin is actually under a bit of an injury cloud with that hand injury that we did post this morning. Kiraz didn't do horribly at fullback. I think the weather really affected that game. So I really hope this weekend we can have some dry football and get a bit of a better understanding. But otherwise, I don't think I'd be buying anyone from either of these teams, Cord.
I wouldn't either.
No, I don't see it. Sorry.
Moving on to the next game, though, and one person I will be buying is Jaden Campbell this week. They have a fantastic run, the Titans, and wasn't he special on the weekend, Jaden Campbell?
Such an idiot. What does Gordon Ramsay say? I'm an idiot sandwich. What are you, an idiot sandwich? Yep, that was me. I got in Dearden instead of Jaden Campbell just due to the matchup. And yeah, Tom Dearden got sin binned and lost me my matchup. I lost by 3 points. But Jaden Campbell, 103, I'm pretty sure.
He's a must-have.
I said I said this again last week. I'm not going to go on about it too much, but he just looks like something's changed. I don't know what it is. They were saying on Fox in the commentary, they were saying that there was some rumblings about him on the outer or like them potentially moving him on. But for me, I just think physically it's just like he's trusting his body again because he's been exceptional. There wasn't much strapping on the knee 2 weeks ago against the Warriors. He was exceptional there. And then last week again, just scintillating stuff, Cord. I honestly think he's the buy of the week.
Yeah, definitely.
Easy buy of the week. He's got dual coverage, half and wing fullback. I'm just personally really salty just because I got Dearden in instead. Like, Dearden didn't go too bad, but like I could have had Jaden Campbell, but I'll probably get him this week. I didn't get him last week due to the matchup. I think that's a thing that all coaches can learn or take away from my mistake is that you just trust the player. It doesn't really matter about the matchup sometimes. If the team's playing well, like we saw the Titans play well last week, high chance they're going to back it up again. And Jaden Campbell did that. Good to see Cam Pereira back as well, Cord.
100%, mate. And I think that's the only person I'd be buying for the Titans the
100%.
Rabbitohs game. Latrell Mitchell is listed among the reserves, but I honestly wouldn't be going out buying Latrell when he returns either, to be honest.
Yeah. It's very risky. Yeah, very risky because you could get injured, but it'd be hard if you can make a trade and get in Latrell against the Titans. Look, the Titans are playing a lot better, but I think Latrell could go better. It's good to see Brandon Smith as well, called back on the bench for the Bunnies. Mamazoulis as well. Humphreys and Mamazoulis were both laid outs with delayed concussion symptoms, so that was good for them. Bit disappointing still to see Tallis Duncan in the centres, but he still is continuing to put out good scores. Aiken's definitely a hold. Duncan, hold on to him. Jai Gray's not a bad option, but I'm saying that like he's probably gone next week because Latrell's back. So, yeah, that's it really for that game. I don't really see other than Jaden Campbell. He's the real get. Brimson's been a lot better as well, Cord. But yeah, Campbell's the one to get in that game.
Moving on to the last game of the round, and the Cowboys look changes galore. Jason Taumalo, Clifford, Vailea, and Michaelia back in and boost their chances of winning this week. Layback moves from centre to wing, replacing Derby. For the Eels, Tulagi has been added to the bench after returning for some suspension, should I say. Fantasy-wise here, mate, like you're throwing stones at glass here, aren't you?
Trying to think, so Sean Russell looks like he did break his hand or do something to his hand because Physio did put that in his little group community chat that there was a potential that Sean Russell had broken his hand. So it looks like that's the case with Semrani coming in. Look, I think Lomax is still a really good option if you haven't got him. I'm just trying to think that was okay. Maybe Dylan Walker has always been at lock. I just thought that he wasn't, but potentially I've been wrong. But regardless, Geimer continues to go well, but Kelmer coming onto the bench will be interesting to see what minutes the likes of Geimer and Williams potentially have. Maybe one of them moves into the middle at 13 there when Dylan Walker comes off for a spell. Look, De Silva had a better game last week. I really don't think. Look, Drinkwater had an absolute howler, but surely he won't do that again this week. I'd be holding on to him. I wouldn't be going out and getting Tamalolo. Dearden, unfortunately, will slightly be affected by Clifford coming back, but it's all right. Braden Burns is a bit of a sneaky center wing fullback option, as well as Zach Lomax. So, like, Braden Burns has been like flying under the radar with some really good scores for the Cowboys. They've got a pretty good run home, except the only issue is they don't play the last round. So if you're going for head-to-head and your finals finishes in round 26, I think he's a great option because he just gets through a lot of work, breaks a lot of tackles. He's got an offload in his game. He's a good option. But if you're playing overall, that could be a bit of a downside. So maybe go for a Zach Lomax, who I thought was, look, he ended up with an all right score against the Storm. I called that game with Sam, and it just, for me, just watching the game really closely and calling it, it just didn't seem like that was the same Lomax that we saw against the Broncos the week before. Looked a bit tired, fatigued, so I reckon we'll get a lot better performance from Lomax this week, considering this game is also the last game of the round. So good recovery time for Lomax to absolutely go out there and kill it against the Cowboys.
Agreed, mate. I think that's it for TLT. We're down to the closing end of the season, mate. Make sure to make those trades, use them up, like I said.
Yeah, well, if you're playing head-to-head, Cord, you got to win your matchup this week. You got to use your trade, or otherwise you're going home. So,
use some trades,
or otherwise, you're just going out. Otherwise, the betting's still doing well, Cord, I believe. So yeah, make sure you hit us up in the DMs if you're interested to join that, and we'll send you the details to get involved with that. I'm sure Mick and Bence will discuss that more on Buy, Hold, Sell. Look, we'll probably keep doing the TLT podcast, but let us know as well with the Buy, Hold, Sells, because it's starting to get to the gritty end where there's not really that many trades left. So it might be that we just go back to one podcast and maybe increase it, sort of you and I touch a bit more on, or, you know, Mick and Bence, one of us or two of the four of us can jump on and sort of discuss, you know, a few players or whatever to get if you've still got trades left. We can still do the templates for you, but there's just, you know, a lot of coaches don't have many trades left, especially with how many injuries and whatnot where, you know, players are going down with week to week with. So, yeah, let us know. I'll be doing as many live commentaries as I can. And, yeah, we'll keep doing this podcast, maybe do like some tipping and talk about going to a bit of in-depth of the results and the games from the week or something. Try to give you a bit more detail, a bit more podcast material for you guys. But otherwise, I think that's it, Cord. I think we can call it stumps, and we'll be back for round 24 next week.
See you later.
See you guys.